Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Danielle Zimbrick with E4. I am the Director of Operations and Marketing. Thank you for joining us on today's brew. Today we'll be having Ronald Grundhauser, the Regional Sales Director for Annuities and Life Insurance with National Western Life. Ron, why don't you take it away?
I will. Go ahead. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time, Danielle, and appreciate the opportunity to invite National Western Life into the brew here this afternoon and talk a little bit about when it makes sense potentially for an exchange into a life insurance policy. We've had a fantastic relationship with E4 over the years, just a great partner out in the field, not only for annuities, but certainly life insurance. So it's a pleasure to be here and talk about these few concepts here, and I guess really the 5 key reasons that we're seeing 1035s coming over to National Western Life, specifically into our single pay, which we refer to as a lifetime return select. And that's what we'll talk about over the next 12 minutes. And first, I do want to start with, how to identify these 5 opportunities. And I think there's something to be said about the power of policy reviews. A lot of the advisors, we see they're doing a fair amount of business in our single premium. They're constantly doing policy reviews with clients or prospects to find these opportunities, right? So we see that happen a lot. And, what are the reasons why for a policy review? Certainly increasing client satisfaction and retention. You're engaged with the client. You're looking for opportunities. You're trying to solve potentially problems that they might have or might not be aware of, right? So you're creating awareness. Uncovering sales opportunity, that's a big thing how to do in policy reviews. Certainly with existing clients, that provides one of the best sources of opportunities, generating referrals. And then finally, an advantage of doing the policy reviews is adding new clients. So we hear the numbers that 50% of Americans report that they need more life insurance. So how do you find these opportunities? I highly encourage you to look at the opportunity of doing policy reviews, just not on a monthly basis, but all the time. Certainly next month is a great time to bring these up, being Life Insurance Awareness Month in September. But I encourage you to look at the process and opportunity with policy reviews, because out of a policy review, we really found 5 key opportunities that come out of doing these reviews. And that's really the things we want to talk about today. So what are these 5 opportunities? What have we seen come out of policy reviews? So first I want to start with number 1. Certainly needs change with clients. And a big part of that is the death benefit needs. Whether it's going through a divorce, maybe it's a marriage, maybe it's a child being born, we find is that the death benefit needs certainly change over the years. So what might have made sense, 5, 10 years ago from an insurance standpoint might not make sense where they're at today, right? And one of the key features that we have on our single premium products, when you look at this for LTRS, is that you get a bonus on the death benefit, and that's important. So if a client has a need for a change of a death benefit and they go into a single premium, what's going to happen is they get an immediate bonus on their death benefit value, and they can use that towards their optional chronic illness rider as well, which we'll talk about. So these are some numbers. It really is the ultimate bonus product. If you have a client, she's 7 years old, female, non-smoker, and she does a 1035 of $100,000 over to our single pay, she'll be at $148,000 for a guaranteed death benefit. So that's an immediate 48% bonus. So the 1035 is coming over. Number 1, obviously it's a way to enhance their death benefit. And number 2, it could be a way to offset potential losses that they've experienced depending on the type of product they were in before. So there's a lot of power to be said in regards to what you receive from a bonus on a single premium. And that's what we have here with the Lifetime Return Select. The second area that we're seeing opportunity is on performance. So maybe that existing policy just isn't performing the way it was expected to perform, whether it's UL, universal life, or potentially a whole life. Well, what's unique about the single pay that we have is that it is on a IUL chassis. So that stands for a indexed universal life. So you have opportunity for a little bit more upside growth. You can't lose money because it's principal protection. But you have allocations that you could go into different indices, one of which is the S&P 500. So what does that mean? Potential for higher cash value growth, right? You think of cash value, it's the flexibility, the durability, the usability to have a cash value component. But there is also upside opportunity to grow for your death benefit as well. So we're seeing the opportunity there to really enhance performance potentially with looking at index credit options with the S&P 500. So for example, we have a very simple strategy of a annual point-to-point with a 10% cap on the S&P 500. So that provides an opportunity for upside performance. So that's number two, is that really that potential for growth if that existing policy just wasn't performing the way they thought it should or would. Number three, we see this quite often. Number three is around living benefits, and this is a great question to ask as you're going through a policy review, to ask that client, do you have any living benefits on that insurance policy? Most of the time they'll say, well, what do you mean a living benefit? What is that? Well, here's an opportunity to add optional chronic illness riders. And that's very important. So I think one of the things we see out there in the industry is there's a gaping hole in retirement planning. And most people older than 65 are going to require assistance with ADLs, right, during their lifetime. And in fact, 50% of Americans will spend some time in a nursing home. So what are we talking about with chronic illness? Well, it's treatable, it's not curable. It affects about 117 million Americans, and it does account for 86% of U.S. healthcare spending. And I'm talking about like heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, dementia, and so forth. So it's very important if they have concerns about health and their existing policies don't have these type of riders on there from a chronic illness standpoint, that's one of the opportunities you have with our single premium is to add that rider on there. So they might do a 1035 to have that additional coverage from a chronic illness standpoint, which is very important for health concerns. And if they don't use it, the full death benefit simply goes to the beneficiary, but it is there as an added layer of protection. So with our Lifetime Return Select, it's activities of daily living driven, right? 2 of the 6 ADLs will trigger it. There's a couple important points on this here. It could be home care or facility care. We don't care. So there's flexibility on where they're getting that level of service provided. We do pay the policy owner as well, so it's an indemnity. So if the client triggers a chronic illness, we would pay them that dollar amount and they can decide how they want to spend that money. Maybe they have their aunt coming over to take care of them. They could just pay that aunt directly because we pay the policy owner. So it's up to $500,000 that they could receive as a benefit for that optional chronic illness. So that's a very important part as you look at these policy reviews, finding opportunities. The number 3 point here is the opportunity to add living benefits and one of the reasons possibly to do a 1035. Number 4, now specific to how we do business with our simplified underwriting. Okay, so if we identify an opportunity, it makes sense to move the money over here. How do they qualify for the insurance, for the single premium? What's the process? I think the one thing that'll stand out on how we do this is with the simplified underwriting. So there's no parameds, there's no fluids drawn. It's just very easy, 12 simple questions that they would go through with the client. So it's called simplified underwriting in the process that we go through. And in fact, we provide these questions ahead of time. So it's an open book test, if you will, where they go through it with the potential client and you'll know right away if they answer no, then you can move to the next step of filling out the application. So what we found in working with our advisors that are doing business with us in this product for the Lifetime Return Select, we make it quite easy for the client to go through the process. And what is that process? As I mentioned, you start with the pre-screen questions. We have 12 built in. If they answer 12 to those, no, then you move right into the application. You fill out the application. You call our elite service producer team. So the producer's on the phone with the client. The team will talk to the producer, and then the client will get on the phone, answer these questions that they might have. And then by the time phone call is over, that team will tell that producer if you've been approved or not. We have about a 90% approval rate as well on that. And then finally, send in the application and the policy is issued if they've been approved. So it's as simple as that for the process to be able to get the business taken care of. And then finally, the last thing we're seeing in regards to why to do a 1035 or something that's a little bit more specific to our product that stands out, because sometimes the client will say, well, what if something comes up? Well, what if? But we have a guaranteed return of premium built into this as well. And what I found in working with clients and helping them possibly make this recommendation for 1035 is that it alleviates some questions they might have with the what ifs. It's approved in all states. What's unique about our return of premium is it's no waiting period. It's any time they could request that. It's included at no additional cost of insurance. So that's another added feature built in that we see certainly some interest in for that. So that's the guaranteed return of premium. So as we wrap everything up and kind of bundle it together in a quick summary, we talk about kind of what are the key reasons why potentially for a 1035 exchange. Number one, the needs change from a death benefit standpoint. Keep in mind the power of what we have for an enhanced bonus product, which you receive for a single premium. So that can be very powerful. But if the death benefit needs change, why not take a look at a single premium to get that enhancement? Number two, maybe that policy just wasn't performing. Well, keep in mind, maybe an IUL might make sense for providing additional growth on the death benefit and cash value. Number three is very important is living benefits. If they have health concerns and they don't have these type of features on their existing life insurance policy. And then number four, a little bit more specific to us, is how we get the business in place with the simplified underwriting. And then finally, number five is that what if of that return of premium rider. That could be very important as well. So with that, I think we have maybe 1 minute left. I'll turn this back over to you, Danielle.
And Danielle, I'll take it from you. Ron, thank you. I apologize for not being here on the beginning. Got pulled into a point of sale with an advisor and just could not get off the phone, but all is good.
Not a problem. Okay, so, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I would also I'd highlight that this is one of the highest single premium compensation products as well that we have out there. 9% up to age 75, and then obviously goes to age 85. So a lot of opportunity out there, and we've had great success with this product. So if you have questions, obviously you know how to get a hold of us, but we'll unmute yourself if you have a question, and please feel free to ask.
Ron, good afternoon. Dan Peterson here, and great presentation. With your instant issue, that is so unique to be able to ask the client the 12 questions, get on the phone with your underwriting team, and they're going to re-ask the questions, correct? And then you get the instant approval. With the application, is that how the 1035 is then initiated? Because this could either be a single premium, or it could be the premium could be just 1035 from another policy. So is that just triggers it then at that point? Once you receive the application, it goes?
Yeah, once you do the application. So when they actually go through they do the call with their ESP team, our team won't, the third-party team won't be asking exactly the same 12 questions. They're going to go through it. They're going to just verify that this is the client, that he met with and talked with the producer. And if they had any questions, probably the one key thing that I see, because I mentioned a 90% approval rate for those policies, where they get tripped up a little bit is on their prescriptions. So always make sure that the client knows what prescription they're taking, the name of it, and why. So they won't necessarily, go through each 12 questions again, but if they see anything they want to explore and ask further questions, they'll do that. Once they approve that on the phone, they'll tell that producer, approved, good to go. Great. Once they fill out that paperwork and that application, they send it in, that'll trigger the 1035.
Okay. So it's not the same 12 questions. Just remember that it's the and make sure you have your prescription information.
But they are similar
Yes,
questions.
exactly.
Correct, Ron?
Yeah,
Might ask
they are.
way.
So here are the questions that the agent would go through with the client beforehand. So, for example, number 7, have you been diagnosed, treated, and test positive for any medical issue prior to age 20 for diabetes? Well, maybe they're taking medication for something that might trigger that ESPT and ask an additional question, but they won't go through each one, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but they'll reference them. The way we design these questions, and this question comes up a lot, we do take on additional risk. We're at a table 4, but we feel confident that these questions with the table 4 and taking on additional risk will certainly cover the amount of risk that we're taking on. The other thing I'll point out with these questions too is it says within the past 3 years. So we have windows built into these questions, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And if it happened 4 years ago, you're not excluded. It's only within the last 3 years as well. That's another key thing in how we design these questions. So they won't go word for word through those same questions. They're just going to ask some follow-up on that. The total call time frame is probably 25 minutes to get that answer on the phone. Yeah.
And Ron, a lot of advisors can't believe this, but you can add the chronic illness, ability to access it with 2 out of 6 activities of daily living needing assistance. You can do that without a get up and go test, without traditional underwriting that we see,
Right.
For so many senior clients.
Right. You're exactly right. Yep.
That's pretty amazing.
Well, thank you again, Ron. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Brendan.
Our pleasure.
Danielle.
Have a great rest of your
Appreciate
week,
it.
everyone. We'll see you next week.